Good day, level cast learners. Today, we embark on a journey through one of the 20th century's most pivotal and tumultuous periods, the Russian Revolution. This isn't merely a historical account, it's a profound narrative of societal upheaval, political ambition, and the relentless human pursuit of change, often at an unimaginable cost. We will delve into the complex tapestry of events that irrevocably altered the course of Russian history and, by extension, global geopolitics. Our exploration will uncover the deep-seated grievances that festered for centuries under the autocratic rule of the Romanov dynasty, leading to a boiling point where the very fabric of society was torn asunder. We'll examine the myriad factors contributing to the revolution's genesis, from crushing poverty and widespread social inequality to the devastating impact of World War I, which served as a crucial catalyst, exposing the monarchy's inherent weaknesses and the profound disconnect between the ruling elite and the suffering masses. Understanding the Russian Revolution requires more than just memorizing dates and names. It demands an appreciation for the intricate interplay of economic pressures, ideological fervor, and the sheer force of human will. Prepare yourselves to navigate a landscape of czars and peasants, revolutionaries and counter-revolutionaries, as we unravel the dramatic events that culminated in the birth of the Soviet Union. This historical episode, characterized by its dramatic shifts and profound consequences, offers invaluable insights into the dynamics of power, the fragility of established orders, and the enduring quest for a more equitable society, however flawed its eventual realization may have been. The seeds of revolution were sown long before the fateful year of 1917. For centuries, Russia had been governed by an absolute monarchy, the Romanovs, whose power was ostensibly divinely ordained, leaving little room for popular participation or dissent. The vast majority of the population consisted of serfs, bound to the land and their aristocratic masters, enduring conditions akin to slavery until their emancipation in 1861, an act that, while significant, ultimately failed to address the root causes of their economic hardship and social disenfranchisement. Industrialization, when it finally arrived in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, brought with it new social strata, a burgeoning industrial working class concentrated in urban centers, living in squalid conditions and ripe for revolutionary agitation. Intellectuals, often exiled or operating underground, absorbed and disseminated radical ideas, particularly Marxism, which offered a compelling critique of capitalism and a vision of a classless society. Events like the humiliating defeat in the Russo-Japanese War of 1904-1905 and the brutal suppression of peaceful protesters on Bloody Sunday in 1905 further eroded public trust in the Tsarist regime, demonstrating its incapacity to govern effectively or respond to the legitimate grievances of its people. These incidents, though seemingly isolated, collectively chipped away at the monarchy's legitimacy and fueled a growing sense of discontent across all segments of Russian society. The Duma, a legislative assembly grudgingly conceded by Nicholas II after the 1905 revolution, possessed limited power and was frequently dissolved, underscoring the Tsar's reluctance to relinquish any real authority. By the eve of World War I, Russia was a vast empire teetering on the brink, its internal contradictions and social tensions exacerbated by a rigid autocratic system ill-equipped to navigate the complexities of a rapidly changing world. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation between an entrenched, anachronistic power structure and a populace increasingly desperate for fundamental change. The outbreak of World War I proved to be the ultimate undoing of the Romanov dynasty. Russia's entry into the war, driven by a complex web of alliances and nationalistic fervor, quickly exposed the deep-seated inefficiencies and corruption within the imperial administration and military. Millions of ill-equipped and poorly led Russian soldiers were sent to the front lines, suffering catastrophic losses against the technologically superior German forces. The war effort crippled the already struggling economy, leading to severe food shortages in cities, rampant inflation, and a complete breakdown of transportation networks. While Tsar Nicholas II personally took command of the army, a move that only further implicated him in its failures, his wife, Empress Alexandra, and her controversial advisor, the mystic Grigory Rasputin, increasingly held sway over domestic policy, further discrediting the monarchy in the eyes of the public and the aristocracy alike. By early 1917, the situation was untenable. Strikes and protests erupted in Petrograd, St. Petersburg, fueled by hunger and war weariness. Soldiers, many of whom were peasants themselves, began to mutiny, refusing to fire on the protesters and instead joining their ranks. This spontaneous uprising, known as the February Revolution, rapidly escalated beyond the government's control. Within days, the Tsar, facing overwhelming pressure from his generals and advisors, was forced to abdicate, bringing an end to over 300 years of Romanov rule. A provisional government, largely composed of liberal aristocrats and middle-class politicians, was established, promising democratic reforms and continued participation in the war. However, this government, plagued by internal divisions and its inability to address the fundamental issues of land reform and peace, soon lost legitimacy. Parallel to the provisional government, Soviets, councils of workers and soldiers' deputies emerged, representing the true revolutionary fervor of the masses. It was into this volatile power vacuum that Vladimir Lenin, leader of the Bolshevik faction of the Social Democratic Party, returned from exile in April 1917, advocating for peace, land, and bread, and all power to the Soviets, setting the stage for the second, more radical phase of the revolution. Lenin's return and the Bolsheviks' increasingly popular slogans resonated deeply with the disillusioned populace. While the provisional government dithered, the Bolsheviks meticulously organized, building support within the Soviets and among the working class and soldiers. Their promise of immediate peace, land redistribution for peasants, and workers' control of factories offered a clear alternative to the provisional government's perceived inaction and continued commitment to the unpopular war. By October 1917, the political climate was ripe for a decisive move. Leon Trotsky, a brilliant organizer and orator, led the Petrograd Soviet's Military Revolutionary Committee, orchestrating the seizure of key government buildings, communication centers, and strategic points in the capital. This relatively bloodless coup, often referred to as the October Revolution, or November Revolution according to the Gregorian calendar, saw the provisional government swiftly overthrown. The Second All-Russian Congress of Soviets, dominated by Bolsheviks and their allies, promptly declared the transfer of all power to the Soviets and established a new government, the Council of People's Commissars, with Lenin at its head. However, the revolution was far from over. The Bolsheviks faced immense challenges, including widespread opposition from various political factions, monarchists, and foreign powers who viewed the communist regime as a threat. This ignited a brutal and protracted civil war from 1918 to 1922, pitting the Bolshevik Red Army against the anti-Bolshevik White Army, supported by Allied interventionist forces. The Civil War, characterized by immense suffering, famine, and widespread atrocities on both sides, ultimately resulted in a Bolshevik victory, largely due to the strategic brilliance of Trotsky and the unified, disciplined nature of the Red Army. The revolution culminated in the establishment of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, in 1922, a totalitarian state founded on communist ideology, which would profoundly shape the 20th century. The Russian Revolution, therefore, was not a singular event but a complex, multifaceted process that dismantled an ancient empire, ushered in a new political and economic system, and left an indelible mark on global history, forever altering the geopolitical landscape and inspiring both hope and fear across the world.
That was a fascinating overview of the Russian Revolution.
Absolutely. It's such a complex period in history.
I was particularly struck by the long-term causes.
Yes, the centuries of autocratic rule were a major factor.
And the serfdom issue really set the stage, didn't it?
Definitely. Economic inequality fueled immense discontent.
World War I seems to be the ultimate catalyst.
It exposed the Tsar's weaknesses so dramatically.
The February Revolution sounds surprisingly swift.
The monarchy's collapse was remarkably quick.
The provisional government had a tough task.
They struggled to meet popular demands.
Lenin's return really changed everything.
His slogans resonated deeply with the people.
Peace, land, and bread was very powerful.
It offered concrete solutions to their suffering.
The October Revolution was less bloody initially.
Yes, it was more of a strategic takeover.
The Civil War sounds truly horrific.
It was a brutal struggle for power.
The creation of the USSR had global impact.
Undeniably, it reshaped the 20th century.
This lesson really clarified many points.
I agree. Keep learning, Levelcasters.
Until next time, Levelcasters, keep exploring, keep learning.